What's up, guys? My name is Izzy, and I'm here to provide you my full card breakdown as well as my picks for UFC 312, Plessis versus Strickland 2. Now, before we get started, let's just quickly recap last week's full card, where we went 6 and 5 in the predictions. Not my best work, obviously. We did hit a few dogs. Well, first off, we got robbed in the first fight. We had Jamal Pogues to win by decision. He ends up losing a split decision where he clearly won the last two rounds. Probably should have been a 7 and 4 prediction night, but some other losers, Lucas Alexander did lose. We also had Peterson to win against Gaziev. That was a bad read. Mike Davis to win, another bad read. And Izzy, obviously. But we did hit some dogs. We did have Oliveira to beat Said Nurmagomedov by decision, which hit. We also had MVP to win by decision, which also hit. Two pretty solid dogs. You probably should have had 3 with Jamal Pogues, but a 6 and 5 prediction night overall. Can't be too mad at it, especially after a robbery and a short card, a small card we should say. But UFC 312, more fights, less quality. Let's get to it. Like I said, the quality is not that great, but the main and the co-main event are honestly very, very nice. So let's just get straight down to it. First fight of the night, Hyun-sung Park versus, oh man, I really have tried to say this like 10 times, Tumendemberel. Now, Hyun-sung Park 9-0, same height, 5-inch reach disadvantage, and 2-inch leg reach disadvantage for Park. But like I said, undefeated. When we look straight down at some of his work, we should say, he's 2-0 in the UFC, both by finish. Choked out Choi, and then he knocked out Shannon Ross. Now, Shannon Ross, as we know, kind of gets knocked out by air. If you just want to just take a nice little look. 4 straight losses, all by knockout. So, not the best, it's not like anything crazy. But you know what? He still knocked out Shannon Ross. Did get a performance of the night bonus for that. It was honestly a beautiful liver shot. But like I said, 9-0, even aside from the UFC, doesn't have that much experience. And aside from him, Tumendemberel also doesn't have that much experience. He's 0-1 in the UFC. He lost a split decision against Carlos Hernandez. Honestly, not a terrible fight for him either. Only one UFC fight under his belt. We're obviously not going to count road to UFC wins, but he got taken down 4 times. Now, obviously, it brings down his takedown defense to 52% because these stats do add the road to UFC fights. Not the best takedown defense. Did get a knockdown against Carlos Hernandez. Not bad. Very even fight, I would say. I was kind of shocked at the odds when I saw them, where Park was a pretty heavy favorite. Let's just go through FanDuel. -250. Opened at -235. Not that long ago. It only shows a day. Yeah, a lot of these fights, because they haven't happened, some of them have been announced not too long ago. Like this card only had like 11 fights not that long ago. So obviously these books haven't opened that many of them weeks in advance, like the Plessis fight. But -235, honestly, for a fight that seems it's gonna be a puncher's chance, anyone can get cracked here. I'm not really loving it like that. Tumendemberel, although 0-1, not the worst fight, like I said. And if he doesn't get taken down, if he's able to stuff those takedowns, I think that he has a shot just as much as anybody against Park, and I think he can take Park's 0 away in the first fight. So give me the dog to win by decision. Now, next fight, we have Salkilld versus Jubli. Now, we'll start with Jubli because I had a bet on Jubli in his last fight against Breeden, and it was looking great. At some point, he was a -800, I believe, and then Mike just started barking at him, and I'm not even joking. He started fucking barking at him, and he got freaked out, dazed and confused. Jubli literally, it looked like it was part of Space Jam, and he forgot how to fight. He just forgot his powers, and he got smoked. It was honestly one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. and now he has another chance to redeem himself. He's 7-1 so far in his career. Like I said, 0-1 in the UFC, because I know damn well he doesn't have another fight. Oh, 1-1. I'm so sorry. A ground and pound win against Sergey. Okay, that one actually wasn't that bad. I haven't watched tape on that specific fight, but like I said, that Mike Breeden loss, round 3, TKO. I mean, it was a very bad loss. And then when we look at his opponent, who is from Australia, one Contender Series win against Gage Young by decision. It wasn't. I want to see if these stats are up here as well, because they are perfect. Okay, secured 9 takedowns. I mean, 40% takedown accuracy isn't the best, but obviously this is only based off one fight. But aside from the takedown, still outstruck him, still tried to land a sub, had just an all-out unanimous decision win. Now Jubli, obviously they add the road to UFC as well here. So technically 3 fights in the UFC, we could say with these stats, 63% takedown defense. Obviously that also includes the fact that Mike Breeden didn't even try to take him down or didn't land a takedown. So it was the other 2 fights, especially his first road to UFC fight where he was taken down 4 times. I'm really not impressed by Jubli, and I'll be so honest with you. These odds made it a little enticing to want to bet on Jubli at plus 390, but I can't. He has no heart. What I saw out there in that first fight, I will never be able to bet on him again. There's just absolutely no way I'll bet on him again. So I'm going to go with the favorite. I'm going to go with Salkilld to win by TKO or decision. Next fight, Jonathan Micallef versus Kevin Jousset. Obviously, it only shows UFC record right here. Jousset's 10-3, 2-inch height advantage, 2-inch reach disadvantage, 3-inch leg reach disadvantage as well. When we go through Kevin Jousset's work, obviously, I mean, when he came to the UFC, people were excited to see him work. Obviously, 10-3, 2-1 in the UFC. Actually, just had his first loss in the UFC against Brian Battle, where he did get TKO'd. Now, it was a fairly close fight at first, but Battle just does Battle things. He was just keeping his distance, keeping his reach, and eventually just was able to catch Jousset, because Jousset doesn't necessarily hate standing on the feet. I mean, he has some pretty heavy hands as well. Prefers to be on the ground. 1 sub, 4 TKOs, 5 decisions. But TKO twice, like I said, 1 in his last fight. Now Micallef, 7-1. 1-0, another Contender Series where he did land a triangle choke. Literally on my birthday. I forgot that my birthday was a Tuesday this year, but this is going to be a very interesting fight, and I guess the odds don't really think so too much, because when we look at the odds, Kevin Jousset minus 250, open at minus 174. I think a lot of that has to do with just name value, because more people know who Kevin Jousset was, and like I said, did get TKO'd in the second round against Brian Battle. Not the worst loss in his career. Won't be the worst loss in his career. I mean, hopefully it is, but you know what I'm saying. It's not the worst. We've seen other people get fraud checked by much worse fighters, like Jubli, for example, by Breeden, who got cut after barking and winning. So I still lean Kevin Jousset, not just obviously because of name value. I do like the matchup. I do like the fact that he has some more experience in there, coming off a loss as well. These Contender Series fighters sometimes kind of get a little over their heads. This is a hard fight to have as your first one post-Contender Series, because Kevin Jousset is a dog, and honestly, at minus 250, I'll probably parlay him in something. It's not the worst, and honestly, I don't mind taking Kevin Jousset to win by finish. I think he'll probably get a sub, most likely not a TKO, unless it's a ground and pound. But I think he's going to want to take this to the ground as well. Obviously, Micallef, a little trickier on the ground, but it's fine. I think Kevin's going to be able to just stay in dominant positions and just will be able to not get caught. As long as you're not caught on the ground, I think he'll be able to maintain those positions and win. And like I said, I kind of want to lean him by finish. So give me Kevin Jousset to win this by TKO or decision. Last early prelims fight is between Rong and Cody Steele. Now, another one where Cody Steele has some name value. Same height, obviously, but this is also his debut in the UFC, we should say. Everything's dead even. 5'9", 71-inch reach, 39 leg reach. I mean, literally the same. It's actually kind of fucking insane that's how that worked out. Let's start with Cody Steele, 7-0. I mean, like I said, name value. Even before Contender Series, there's a lot of people who knew who he was. 6-0 in Fury. That says something. I mean, that fight on Contender Series where he got that body shot in the second round against Blair, he was working him. Striking was dead even, but he did land the knockdown himself. But regardless, when you see that fight, I mean, his striking is clean. He just has some heavy hands as well. He's going to be ripping to the body. He's going to be just kicking the hell out of you. The beauty about this fight is that Rong is also kind of a savage. 25-6. A lot of times you see these fighters, especially from Asia, where they just have so many fights under their record, like because they probably fought 5 times within like 3 months. I mean, look at all these fights. Obviously, some 1-1, 0-1. You know, and he was 4-1 fighting someone, or 5-1 fighting someone 0-1. Not the worst, we could say. I mean, he did fight someone who was 11-4 after, 3-2, 7-2, 2-1, 3-0, 6-6, kind of nasty, 19-11. You know, so some of these fights, I mean, you see 14 wins by TKO, but who is he TKOing? He's 1-3 in the UFC. Includes losses to Bahamundes, not a bad loss. Comes back, obviously, to the road to UFC. But last fight, doctor stoppage against Chris Padilla. I mean, Ignacio Bahamundes, Padilla, pretty similar. But, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong Padilla. That's actually kind of a bad loss. But with Cody Steele, it's going to be kind of a different fight for sure. Obviously, they're going to keep it on the feet. As you saw, 14 wins by TKO. Only one TKO loss, has lost by sub 4 times. Cody Steele has only one sub win. Cody Steele's not going to be looking to take this to the ground, and we know the opposition absolutely will not be as well. That's when they usually get caught as also. We've seen it a few times last year. You know, these like people from China or Thailand, they'll have like a 20-5 record, you know, 19 wins by TKO. You take them to the ground and they get choked the fuck out. So, gonna be a little weird. Gonna be a little tricky because Cody Steele, like I said, another Contender Series debutant. Might be a little over his head. He's gonna want to just like show out a little bit, you know, against someone. You see, it's like 1-3 in the UFC. I should be able to finish him. I don't think he gets that finish. I think he can handle a masterclass, maybe a late 3rd round finish. But I'm going to go Cody Steele here to win. Now, in terms of just odds themselves, Cody Steele on FanDuel minus 225, opened at minus 245. People think that he's going to be a little over his head probably, you know, not giving him enough credit. And that's fine, honestly. I don't think that, like I said, I don't think he gets the finish. But I do like him to win by decision. Colby Thicknesse is so funny, that's how I'm going to say it, versus Aleksandre Topuria. Now we know Topuria, it's so nasty that the website doesn't have their name or their faces, but it makes sense. We'll go with Topuria first. 5-1, obviously we know exactly, I mean, you see the last name, we know exactly who he is. Was not supposed to fight Colby. He was supposed to fight Cody Haddon, which would have been a banger fight, which I think he probably still would have won, but it would have been a lot closer than this fight. 5-1, like I said, does have one loss under his belt 10 years ago. Hasn't really fought that much. I mean, honestly, kind of strange because I wouldn't want to bet on him, to be honest. All wins by finish, though, obviously. When you look at who he's fighting, he fought someone who was 0-3, 1-1, lost to someone who was 0-0, 7-18, 1-9, 3-1. I'm telling you right off the bat, I will not be betting on him. And I won't be betting on this fucker either, who's 7-0. Just not enough experience for me on either side. Not enough experience at all. 5'9", 70-inch reach for Colby, and Topuria, 5'7", can't even show his reach. What are we doing? What is good with these websites? Regardless, like I said, I'm not betting on this fight. There's no way. Topuria is a minus 400. He hasn't fought someone who has an above 500 record aside from maybe one in his 6 fights. And half of his fights happened in like the second term of the Obama administration. So I will not be betting this fight. But I do like Topuria to win by finish. And I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's a Topuria to win by TKO or submission. But this is not one of those fights where you should be jumping out of your seat to bet on. Wang Cong versus Bruna, Brasil. Now, Wang Cong kind of fraud checked in her last fight. We'll go through it. Both 5'6", same reach. Bruna, Brasil does have just an inch and a half of a leg reach advantage, which might honestly help in this fight considering how many kicks that she usually tries to land, especially down the middle. She's going to be just attacking Kong's body as much as possible. Now, Kong is going to want to counter as much as possible as well. She's going to be able to. Like I said, Bruna, Brasil, she's trying to land a lot of kicks. It allows her hands to go down, and that's when Kong's going to want to strike immediately. Now, when we go through some Bruna, Brasil stats, 3-2 in the UFC, win-loss, win-loss, win against Molly McCann. Against Molly McCann, she was like a plus 350, and to be honest, I just don't even know why. I don't even know why. She landed 3 takedowns against Molly. It was a unanimous decision. Obviously, the striking looks a little like even-ish. She only outlanded her by 12 strikes. It was not close. I mean, she was fucking Molly McCann up 10 times out of 10. Like, that shit was not close. It was honestly kind of surprising that they even, didn't stop it in certain moments. Some bad losses. Luke Boomy was able to take her down, just really control her. Denise Gomes as well, 3 takedowns. And you can tell, 59% takedown defense is not good at all. It's like someone tries to take you down 10 times and they land 6. Likely they will win a fight, Everyone except Shauna Bannon, who we know exactly who she is, and she's not trying to land takedowns at all, has landed a takedown on Bruna, Brasil. Now, Wang Cong, only 3 fights so far in the UFC, including Road to UFC, we should say. But if we substitute or just eliminate that, first fight, won in a minute by TKO. At some point, she was a plus 100 on the books for no reason and then jumped to minus 900. Then her next fight, where against Fernandez, where she just looked and came out strong and started to gas out. Exactly, I thought that was going to happen eventually, but honestly happened a lot sooner than I thought. I thought she was going to kind of run through people. And the books thought so too, because those odds were disgusting for her. Now, says she outstruck her 46-18, but Fernandez did get that knockdown, did get the rear naked choke a little late in the second round. Now, here's the thing with Bruna, Brasil. Bruna, Brasil is extremely crafty, not only on the feet, but on the ground as well. She's going to be looking to get some sub-attempts going. Now, 50% takedown defense, but she kind of got fraud checked a little bit, to be honest. Against Fernandez, like I said, massive favorite, and she just ended up folding. Now, when we look at the odds, people are still on the Wang Cong bandwagon, clearly. 350 on FanDuel minus 480 has jumped to 480. Honestly, I just don't know. The odds are gross. I just don't feel like it's at the perfect position to fade Wang Cong again at this point. Bruna, Brasil has shown some inconsistencies. So it really depends on how. I would assume that Wang Cong will understand to, try not to gas out early, and she's going to try to manage her pace as much as possible. She knows she has 3 rounds to work. Bruna, Brasil is not the easiest person to take out, so she might need that stamina to be able to do so. But regardless of that, I think that she'll be able to counter well, and I think that she's going to be able to just land that counter right that she's going to be looking to get immediately. Bruna Brasil, like I said, is going to be attacking the body. I don't think she's going to be able to do much. So give me Wang Kong to win by knockout or TKO. All right, next fight, Tom Nolan versus Slava Claus. Now, Tom Nolan, we know, is 4 inches taller, has a 4-inch reach advantage, 2-inch or 1.5 leg reach advantage. Tom Nolan obviously is going to be, I mean, they're both going to be looking to keep it on the feet. Tom Nolan's going to try to use that 4-inch reach advantage. He's obviously visibly going to be taller, just lankier in there. Going to be looking for teep kicks. Just going to be looking to just outwork Slava Claus on the feet. Now, when we look at some stats, Tom Nolan 8-1, 2-1 in the UFC. Lost his first fight to Nicholas Mota, where he just got smoked by Nicholas Mota. Bad loss. Then comes back, beats Victor Martinez. Honestly, a very beautiful, beautiful knee. And then beats Alex Reyes by decision. That taking Alex Reyes to decision is not a good win. You should absolutely finish Alex Reyes, who had not fought in a long time, and he was. Oh, I'm sorry. He had fought Charlie Campbell, yeah, and then 6 years prior he lost on the exact same date to Mike Perry. I mean, not pretty, not good. Has just been riddled with injuries, and you take him to decision. That is bad. Prior to that, Alex Reyes had not seen a decision in like a million years, like 15 years. So bad win, honestly. Now Slava Claus, 3-3. All 3 of his losses have come by decision, but 3-3-1 in the UFC. We'll take out the majority draw out there. Beat James Lontop in his last fight by split decision. When we just look at the striking numbers, I mean, it was close. Slava Claus outlanded him by 3 strikes, 96-93. But I honestly don't know. I don't think it should have been a split. I think he did enough in 2 rounds to be able to just outwork Lontop and pick up a unanimous decision win. But the judges didn't see it that way. Ended up getting a split, but he still ended up pulling it out. Against Tom Nolan, it's going to be very tricky. Listen, 0% takedown accuracy. He's not looking to take anyone down. But I think he might play the wrestling game just a little bit here against someone like Tom Nolan, because Tom Nolan obviously has that reach, has that length. It's going to be a little hard to just pick him apart, try to smoke him, try to hit him. So I think that Slava Claus is going to try to just, use his fakes. He might actually try to pressure him on the cage, push him up against the cage, try to take him down maybe, and eventually just use that as a fake to just try to take Tom Nolan's head off, push him on his back foot, push him against the cage, and then just absolutely rip him. So I like Slava Claus here, to be honest. When we look at the odds as well, Slava Claus, minus 150, not bad. DraftKings minus 135 is a solid straight. I like Slava Claus to win this by TKO or decision. All right, next fight is Jack Jenkins versus Gabriel Santos. Now, Jenkins coming in as a kind of a massive underdog here. 2 inches shorter than Santos, 2-inch reach disadvantage, and a 3-inch leg reach disadvantage. I mean, when we just look at statistics like that, we know he's going to be trying to chase a little bit more. Santos is going to be the lengthier fighter. He's going to be looking to just absolutely knee Jack Jenkins' head off if he can, especially if Jack Jenkins decides to wrestle. Jack Jenkins 13-3. Like I said, another, prospect that a lot of people like and, want to see win. 3-1 in the UFC. Loss came to Chepe, where it was a pretty close fight, and then Chepe was just able to pull it out because also like Jack Jenkins did get hurt. It was a verbal tap out, but the tides were kind of turning at that point where it just seemed like Chepe was just doing a little bit more. And I bet on Chepe as an underdog. I thought he was gonna win eventually. So I'm kind of happy with it. I mean, I'm not happy they got hurt, but I'm happy with the way the fight was leading up to and where it was heading towards. And then picks up a win once he comes back against Herbert Burns. Another win. At least he finished him, unlike Tom Nolan with the dude. Round 3, a minute into the fight, could have been stopped way before that. Kind of just gave him an extra chance, an extra minute to survive in between rounds. And then we look at Gabriel Santos, who's 11-2, 1-2 in the UFC, lost his first 2 fights in 2013, picks up a nice decision win in 2024. I said 2013 or 2023. I don't know why I feel like I said 2013. I might have, to be honest. Landed 2 takedowns, a knockdown, outstruck Yiza. I mean, absolutely smoked. Now, lost to David Onama. David Onama did land more, but Santos, very crafty, was looking for subs. He got the takedowns as well. 85% takedown defense, 52% takedown accuracy. He's landing 3.5 takedowns on average a fight. Obviously, I mean, taking down Lerone Murphy 5 times in that split decision loss, where he honestly felt like he kind of should have won that fight, but then comes back and just gets smoked by Onama, and that's when everyone's like, okay, I guess you weren't as good as we thought you were. Comes back, beats Yiza, and now he's facing someone in Jack Jenkins, who also 69% takedown accuracy. He's averaging about 2. He's going to be looking to take Santos down. I think this is another situation where I feel like, similar to Jousset, he's going to be able to just level everything on the ground. He's not going to really get caught in anything. He was a little sporadic in moments against Chepe because Chepe makes the fight sporadic. I don't think Santos is that caliber of a fighter, and he's not going to try to make it as crazy. He's a little more technical, and I think that's kind of Jack Jenkins' wheelhouse because he has more power, and he's going to try to just have him play his own game. Like I said, he was playing Chepe's game towards the end where he got hurt, and then Herbert, obviously, kind of a can. So this is a bigger test. I feel like this is a bigger test for Santos than it is for Jenkins, which is why I'm leaning still Jenkins here, to be honest, especially at home. Plus 186 on FanDuel. I mean, odds are jumping. Started at plus 152, ends up being plus 186. I like that spot for him. I really do. I get it. If people see that split decision loss against Lerone Murphy, that was 2 years ago. I mean, you can't really say too much about something like that, especially after you get smoked by David Onama. Different fights, obviously different matchups. David Onama's, he's built like Slender Man. He's going to pop you in the face. But I don't know. I wouldn't want to take Santos at minus 245. It just doesn't feel like the right spot at all, to be honest. So I'm going to go with my second dog here. I'm going to try to play as safe as possible, because I'd be taking dogs every card. And sometimes they do hit, but I really do like this spot for Jack Jenkins. So give me Jack Jenkins to win this by decision. Are we on the main card? We're on the main card. All right, now this is where the fun begins. Jake Matthews versus Francisco Prado. Now, Jake Matthews has been in the UFC for a long fucking time. 20-7. He's 13-7 in the UFC, which means that he came in at 7-0. He's lost in every single way possible already, but only TKO'd once. Not bad. Another fighter who's just been up and down. He beats Phil Rowe, which is a very good win. Loses to Michael Morales, not a bad loss. Undefeated Ecuadorian prospect. Beats Darius Flowers by rear naked choke. That's a fight you want to finish against someone like Darius Flowers. Loses to Semmelsberger. Semmelsberger's not bad. And then Filio, he smoked Filio. A while ago, I remember that fight. And we'll stop right there because that's 2022. 2021. 4 fucking years ago. We're not going to talk about that. But like I said, he was pressuring Phil Rowe on the cage as much as possible. Phil Rowe's a lot scrawnier, a lot skinnier. He was able to just pretty much do whatever he wanted against Phil Rowe, to be honest. outstruck him 66-34. Like I said, had a takedown as well. 41% takedown accuracy, 64% takedown defense. He's averaging about 1.5 takedowns. I mean, against Michael Morales, you're not going to want to take him down. You can't take him down, honestly. I mean, 92% takedown defense. Yeah, absolutely no shot. Now, Prado. Prado's a different case here, right? 12-2. Last fight was a loss against Daniel Zellhuber. But, I mean, a war, obviously because of Daniel Zellhuber as well, as we know, against his fight against Ribovics in his last fight in the Sphere. But honestly, a savage fight that went down to the last round. It was 1-1 going into the third. Zellhuber won the second, and Prado won the first. And it was just like back and forth, back and forth. But Zellhuber ultimately did pull it out, and he was just fucking Prado up at the end there, where Prado's face looked unrecognizable. But heavy-ass hands, you know, like he's there to scrap 100%. Now, this is where things get scary. 25% takedown defense, hasn't tried to attempt a takedown. 1-2 in the UFC, beats Otoman Zaitar. Not terrible. We've seen him smoked before. Just recently against Michael Johnson in December. You know, loses to Malarkey. I can't even say if that's a bad win or loss. 25% takedown defense is key here because I think this Jake Matthews becomes a wrestler on Saturday. And he might need to because, honestly, this is a very scary fight for him. And I don't think that Jake Matthews, I think he understands that he doesn't want to stand with Prado and just, because Prado's hard to finish, obviously. Both of his losses have come by unanimous decision where he was outstruck and he was beat up. At least Malarkey was able to take him down. But that Zellhuber fight, Zellhuber was just in his range, piecing him up. Once he got going, he got going. When we look at the odds, Jenkins Matthews minus 235. I don't love it. I don't love it at all. I don't think Jake Matthews is worth a price like that. I still like him to win. I just would not play him at that price at all, not even in a parlay. I would maybe take a prop bet on him. I think probably the best way to go when it comes to something like this would be Jake Matthews to win by sub if you go prop betting. But in terms of, for the sake of the video, I'm going to go with Jake Matthews to win this by sub or decision, just because I know Prado is a tough motherfucker, and you know his 2 losses in the UFC, beat up, taken down, still not finished. So I'm going to go Jake Matthews here to win by sub or decision. Now, next fight of the night. Jimmy Crute versus Rodolfo Bellato. Now, Bellato has the 1-inch reach advantage, or height advantage, sorry. 3.5-inch reach advantage, 1-inch leg reach advantage. He's going to be looking like a monster in there. And now, who should we start with? Should we start with Jimmy Crute? Let's start with Jimmy Crute here, right? 4-4 in the UFC, has dropped 3 of his last 4 with a draw included in there. So 0-3-1 in his last 4 fights. Obviously, he broke his leg against Anthony Smith after, a 2-fight win streak. He's out for a while. I said break his leg, but it was like an ACL. Loses to Jamal Hill. Jamal Hill absolutely wrecks him. Alonzo Menafield, a weird fight, and then gets choked out by Alonzo Menafield. You getting choked out by Menafield, something's wrong with you. Bellato, 12-2, 1-1 contender series, 1-0 in the UFC. Like I said, contender series fight, absolutely murked Talha and then beat up Paltiera. Not the greatest win ever, but got the job done. When it comes to this fight, though, against Jimmy Crute, obviously, Jimmy's should wrestle. He's going to want to kick his legs. Bellato, like I said, is a monster. He's going to be looking to take Crute's head off fairly easily, fairly quickly. And I almost feel like he's going to be able to do that pretty damn easily. Someone who hasn't won in 4 fights, I'm not riding with someone like that. I don't care where you are, especially Bellato. Like I said, he's a massive light heavyweight. He's a massive dude, 29 in his prime, 4-fight win streak. Yeah, no. Only last loss was Petrino in his last Contender Series fight a few years ago. This is a great fight to take someone like Bellato. When we look at the odds, Bellato a minus 166 on FanDuel, was a minus 150. Not the worst, honestly, minus 260, minus 142 was, and then minus 162 on DraftKings now. Not a bad parlay piece. If I were to take this regardless, it'd probably be Bellato to win by knockout or TKO, which is probably plus money. So give me Rodolfo Bellato to win this by knockout or TKO. Now, next fight, Justin Tafa versus Thaleson Teixeira. Now, Teixeira is 6'7". He's a fucking monster. A 9-inch reach. Only 3-inch leg reach advantage. But 9-inch reach advantage is crazy. He's 6'7". Now, the thing about Justin Tafa is we've seen him fight taller fighters before. I'm not too pressed about something like this, right? Obviously, he has a terrible record. You know, he lost to Carl Williams in his last fight because he was taken down and just practically held there. Austin Lane is a tall fuck. Austin Lane is 6'6" with an 80-inch reach, where we see 6'7" and an 83-inch reach. And we saw that fight because obviously Tafa was going to do that in their first fight versus Austin Lane, gets eye poked, ends up doing it anyways in his next fight. Teixeira's not scary to me. I just, like, I get it. Like, we know that this fight's going to end in 40 seconds. We know that. Teixeira's 7-0. I mean, 2-0 in LFA. Contender Series fight didn't last 2 minutes. I just don't trust him in this spot. Listen, Tafa's tough. Tafa can take big shots. Teixeira has shown really nothing that has been impressive. Now, the thing is obviously the way to beat Teixeira is you got to take him down. But is Tafa going to do that? Is Justin Tafa going to take him down? Let's answer that together. 0% takedown accuracy. No, he's not. So that's kind of fucking scary. So this is a puncher's chance. Fuck this fight. Fuck this fight. Junior Tafa or Justin Tafa, I'm sorry. There's both of them are trash, but he's an underdog. Now, his line was plus 126, now plus 114, but he's still an underdog. So, not the worst place to take him. I would just, you could take him straight up, or take him by knockout or TKO. It's going to be the same exact thing. Plus 114, plus 120 knockout TKO. I'll tell you that right now. There's no way this is going to decision. Absolutely no shot. No one's wrestling here. No one's wrestling. They're going to be swinging, so someone's going to get tired, if anything, if no one dies in the beginning. Fuck this fight. But I do like the dog at home against someone, very similar in terms. Austin Lane obviously doesn't have the hands Teixeira does, but he keeps his hands down. Tafa's going to come in. If he doesn't give Teixeira that initial reach to land, Tafa can get in close, pressure him on the cage, and just literally close his eyes and just try. He was just going to try. And I think he fucking lands, hopefully. So give me Justin Tafa, the dog, to win this by knockout. Or knockout or TKO. No sub. Fuck that. Imagine standing Gilly. He'd break someone's neck trying to pull him down. Co-main event. Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez. Tatiana Suarez, we're going to get into this. This is the best fight of the night. 5'5". Okay, she has the inch reach. Height, sorry. 3-inch reach, which is going to be key. And 3-inch leg reach as well. So 3 arm, 3 legs. We'll start with Weili. When we look at Weili, 25-3, 9-2 in the UFC, we know her 2 losses have come by the hands of Rose. First fight got caught easily. Next fight, lost split decision. Could have gone either way, to be honest. I still feel like she should have pulled it out. If she was the champ at the time, likely she would have still retained her belt. Only got outstruck by, 83-86 is not bad. Landed more takedowns. but obviously couldn't really do much because Rose is constantly trying to get up as well. That happens, beats young Jacek again. Then I watch her beat Carla Esparza's ass in MSG, which is beautiful. Subbed her, beats Lemos, and beats Yanan. Now, when we just look at her work, right, and when you just look, I've watched 98% of these. When you look at all these, you see something that's very massive, and it's how many takedowns she lands now versus in the beginning of her UFC career. Because when you look at those earlier fights against, let's say, Aguilar or even Tisha, that one that she won the belt against Andrade, she's pushing forward. Everyone's talking about her hands, her striking, her kicking. She's explosive. She's looking to take your head off at any moment. You know, she's exciting, everything. Now she's 35, and she's slowing down, for sure. She's slowing down. But aside from that, she's in a point where she can't just rely on her striking because we've seen her hurt before. She fought Zhao Nan in her last fight. It's funny, they always say she's the first fighter to like knock out, sub, or finish a win by decision because she basically did all three. But I mean, we saw her get cracked in that fight. Lemos, she didn't give a fucking chance because she took her down and had her there for 5 rounds. But regardless of that, we've seen, I mean, ever since that first Rose fight where she got cracked, the game plan has changed. And it's takedown, 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 takedown. 5 against Rose second time, 3 against Jacek second fight with them. Didn't land one against Esparza, but she finished it on the ground, so it ended up there. 6 against Lemos. Lemos landed 24 strikes in 25 minutes. That's not even a strike a minute. And then 6 takedowns with 2 sub-attempts against Yanan. The game plan has changed completely because she wants to stay champ. She wants to remain champ. She still is the best women's fighter out there right now. 100%. She's going to go down as a UFC legend, everything. But this is easily her hardest fight in years. In years since that first Rose fight. I think this is her hardest test because Tatiana Suarez, 11-0, is a monster. Now, she hasn't fought that much. She hasn't fought that much because of injuries. So we can't really talk about that all of these fights, sorry. 100% takedown defense, 61% takedown accuracy. She's averaging 6 takedowns a fight. I mean, 3 of these fights, first of all, Ultimate Fighter win. That was second term Obama still. Then we have first term Trump for next 4 fights, and then Biden last 2. Like she's ran through 3 presidents. And technically going on the 4th right now with this fight. And she's only fought 7 times in the UFC. That's how injured she's been. I mean, there's a Damian Maia main event here. There's a Damian Maia main event. But we see these names, right? Grasso, Esparza, Nina Nunes, not bad. Montana De La Rosa, Jessica Andrade. That Montana De La Rosa one wasn't even in her weight class. She just wanted to come back after 4 years gone. But last 2 fights, both in 2023, won by guillotine. Now here's the thing. She wasn't supposed to fight for the belt yet. She had one more fight, and then she got hurt, and then they gifted her this. But it might play to her advantage because she's like Khamzat. She's hurt, she's tired, she's sick. I mean, fuck. I almost don't want her to win because I want an active champ. But then I think of Weili, and I'm like, Weili barely fights twice a year. Like, she barely does. She's like right there to not. So it's not the worst thing to have someone like Tatiana be champ. Now, Weili, 50% takedown defense. That's what scares me. Now, obviously, not a lot of people are trying to take Weili down. It's usually the opposite. But, I mean, she should have the understanding that Tatiana Suarez is going to try to take her down immediately. Now, is Suarez going to be able to get her there? And if so, is she going to be able to hold her there and just be able to work? Because Weili is a tough little fuck. She's going to want to immediately get up, but she's going to know it's not the end of the world if she gets taken down, you know? It's not the end of the world. She has 5 rounds to work. We see her visibly slow down within those last few rounds, of course, last round and a half, we should say. But when you look at Tatiana Suarez, I mean, how much 5-round experience do you think she's had? There's a difference between, as someone who has like gone through this, at least in terms of training, it is vastly different training for a 5-rounder than fighting a 5-round fight. It's so different. You can train for 2 hours, hardcore shit, and then you'll spar with someone, and you're like, yo, kind of crazy. You can get gassed in 2 minutes. I almost see it like this, like for every 2 minutes of sparring, for every like 10 minutes of sparring, it's like 2 minutes of an actual fight. So it's going to be tricky to see how Suarez kind of just like levels everything early in the fight, knowing that there's 5 rounds to work. Obviously, her style is very, very nice for a 5-round fight. It's favorable. Is it favorable if you can't take her down and you're getting punched in the face? Not at all. Now, does it get there? Like I said, Suarez is kind of, she's 34. But she also doesn't have that much mileage. Obviously, she has external injuries. Injuries from, other facets of life, I should say. You can Google Tatiana Suarez survivor, and you'll know what I mean. But in terms of mileage on the cage, she doesn't have that much, which is a good thing. So this is such a fucked up fight because I love Weili. I really do. She's been my favorite women's fighter. I call it bias, whatever. She's been my favorite women's fighter for years and years and years. Prior to those Rose fights, because there was just something in her. It's just like she's a dog, 9-2 in the UFC, only lost to one person twice. Arguably, only, should have lost once. But Suarez just seems so good. I'll be honest. I mean, we've been talking about Suarez for years. Like, if you've been following the UFC as long as I have, talking about Suarez for so long. Like, so she should have been champion years and years ago if it wasn't for her injuries. So it pains me, but I'm going to have to go with Tatiana Suarez. I think that she's just going to be able to hold Weili down, beat her up a little bit, and she's going to sink in a choke. I can feel it. I can feel it, and it bothers me that I feel this way, but I think she sinks in a choke, and she hurts our poor Weili, and she smokes Weili. Yeah, I think she smokes Weili low-key. So, I'm going to go with NU. Now, when we look at the odds, Tatiana Suarez minus 125, open at 172. Now, I saw her right here, plus 126. I saw her right here. And this is when I went, I need to take her right now. But I don't like waiting 2 weeks for a bet or 3 weeks. I hate it. That's why I don't do futures. Only one UFC one, but I don't like having to wait. I don't like looking at it and staring at it. So I told myself I'll wait. And now she's a favorite because people understand. She's a favorite, god damn it. Weili being an underdog is very shocking, but it makes sense. Open at a minus 225 2 months ago. This should tell you exactly what I mean. People feel like Tatiana Suarez is coming, and she's just gonna tear shit up. So, like I said, it pains me, but give me Tatiana Suarez to win this by submission. And the reason why I'm going submission is because I think that if it were to go further in the fight, she probably doesn't have that much gas in the tank, and she probably loses. But she can sink in a choke early in that fight within those first 3 rounds prior to championship rounds. Like I said, give me Tatiana Suarez and you to win by submission. Now, last fight, main event. Main event. We have Du Plessis versus Strickland 2. Now, I rewatched their nice, lovely first fight, and we bet on Du Plessis, by the way. Just want to point that out. Strickland outstruck him 173 to 137. Du Plessis did land more takedowns, 38% of significant strikes. Sean landed 42%. In the clinch, Du Plessis landed 3 out of 5. Strickland 0. When I see that fight, and it was a split decision fight, split decision win for Du Plessis, it was close. I mean, lost that first round, which is very typical fighting someone like Sean Strickland, because he's gonna, he's gonna lead the dance, especially early. He wants to be the aggressor. He wants to be the aggressor, and then he just gets a little stagnant, where Du Plessis starts off slow, and he starts getting he's more like energetic. He's like an enigma, he's slowly just feeling himself a little bit in there. So visibly, he tends to lose that first round. I mean, when you see the odds of that first fight after the first round, Du Plessis was like a plus 200, because people were like, oh, he's going to get fucked up for 5 rounds, or he might get finished by Sean Strickland. But it's exactly what happened, and it honestly was closer than I thought it was going to be. I thought Du Plessis was going to be able to run through him. And when we just think about this fight and how it's going to go second time around, one of our moderators says it all the time. When it comes to rematches, I don't tend to, favor the one who lost the first fight. I tend to favor the person who won the first fight. And time and time again, I mean, it shows and it reigns true. We see it all the time. Izzy Pereira, no. Izzy Whitaker, 2. There was another one that was in my head as well, but there's plenty of times. Cyril Gane and Volkov, 2, even though it was a robbery. Still, rematches. Rematches are hard for the person who lost the first time, because it's in your head. You want to level the score. Strickland wants to level the score, and there's never a higher stake than a championship belt. Now he talks about, I want to beat him up. Brother, we've seen you fight for like 10 years. Like, you're like, I want to kill him. Brother, watch your Costa fight. You said the same thing about Costa. You were coasting against Costa to try to get your title back, because you did that for 5 rounds, and then you just was like, I'm not going to fight until I get another shot. Meanwhile, DDP is out here just choking people out. And that's why I feel like this fight's going to be so much different than the first one. And I'm still going to stick with DDP. I think DDP is going to not only lead the dance, he's going to land heavy shots that he wasn't able to land early in that first fight. Because now he understands, first of all, he's only getting better. Sean Strickland seems to be regressing a little bit, because obviously he's getting older, and he has learned absolutely nothing from, I'm telling you, you'll look at his fights, look at his fight against like Cannonier years ago. And I'm not saying 10 years ago, like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever. Just completely, it's the same fighter. He's the same fighter. DDP, from his first fight to now, it looks like the boy has, it's like VC in 2K. Like, the boy has added some attributes. I can't see how Sean Strickland wins this fight unless he outclasses DDP. But that's the thing. Even when DDP seems like he's losing, he's going to win. So tell me how Strickland wins this fight. Tell me how. When we look at the odds, the odds agree with me. And the odds didn't at first, and this is another fight I wish I took early. DDP opened in December at minus 138. Since then, he's just been slowly dropping. Look at that. Slowly. It's like stairs. Slowly going downstairs. Minus 200, minus 210, minus 225, 215. He's minus 215 on FanDuel right now. Not terrible, to be honest. But Strickland plus 164. He was the favorite in their first fight, which is why the odds were like this. But people are starting to realize that, like, what is he going to do? What is he going to do differently? What is he going to do differently this time around? He does the same shit every fight. I can't trust that. I can't trust that. DDP seems to be getting better. He's still a reigning champion. His next fight is when he probably loses if he fights Hamzat. There's no one else that's going to be able to beat him right now. He looks great, can get hurt, his not chinny, but he'll get hurt, he'll get cracked, he'll throw one back though, and we've seen what happens when Strickland gets hurt by Pereira. Obviously, clean shot, clean left hook. DDP doesn't have to land something clean to hurt him. Even with his Philly shell and all that shit where he's defending, blocking, a little part of that gets through to the temple. Just one of those nice little crazy fucking Donkey Kong hooks. We could see Strickland hurt. I think DDP comes in here and he puts on a show. And he mauls Sean. I think he finishes him, to be honest. I think he finishes him this time around. People are counting him out because he arguably lost that first fight. He's only getting better. Sean Strickland is only not doing anything else for his career. He just doesn't look like he's visibly getting better. Now, if he finishes DDP, I'll take back all my words. Next video, I'll literally take back all my words. But he has done absolutely nothing. This has become a podcast. I'm so sorry. It was supposed to be a prediction. I like DDP to win this, and I'd like him to finish this shit and close off this chapter for the middleweight division. Give me DDP to win this by TKO or submission and still. And that concludes UFC 312 full card picks and predictions. We have 3 dogs out of 13. Not the best. There's going to be some tricky ones here and there. I don't expect to go 13-0. I just want something. If I were to predict where I'd be, probably anywhere between 8-5 and 9-4. Hopefully a little better than that. But that's where I'd like to see myself. I think we can hit all 3 dogs 100%. There might be some other sneaky dogs in there, some other prop bets. We're still looking to add more things to the YouTube channel. So please let me know below, one, who is your favorite fight of the card, or who you think is going to win, like your lock of the week. And just let me know what other little things you'd like to see on the YouTube channel. Could be UFC related, could not be, but even just aside from predictions, if you want a different type of video of, like, let's say bets or like post fight, and then like how the UFC should go from there. Obviously, I've been watching the UFC for years and years and years, so I can provide as much insight as possible, not just breakdowns of how I feel these fights are going to go. But let me know below. We're trying to grow this. I mean, thank you so much for watching the last video that got over 700 views. I mean, I can't even begin to explain how grateful I am for that. I mean, I've always said it too, from growing on TikTok with 15,000 followers from zero, from nothing. I'll always be grateful for that. We're trying to grow this YouTube channel way beyond that. So thank you so much. So obviously, please like, comment, subscribe, send this to your homies, please. Let me know what you think of the predictions. Let's do a little better than last week, which was 6-5. Obviously, should have been 7-4, but whatever. I'll eat my L's. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much for riding with me, and I'll see you guys for the next card.